Today on Beavertown Outdoors, we're sharpening saws. So today is not a great day to be outside. We've had yesterday was a great day, at least in the afternoon, but had other things to do. And today, winter's trying to make its return. Yesterday we were in 70-something degrees, and now right now it's sleeting and 40 degrees, and it's supposed to get down into the teens tonight. So, gotta love Michigan. In the span of a couple of days, you can get through almost all the seasons. So I thought I'd take the opportunity, since outside's not really plausible today, to sharpen up the chains on my saws. Did some cutting, pile of elm and that recently. Took some of the advantage of some of the good weather. Sorry I didn't bring that to you. Yeah, so didn't get a chance that day to sharpen everything up to put it away, so that's what I'm gonna do today. So I got the steel here, the steel 441 Magnum, and this chain is I will admit, it has seen better days. Take you off here. So yeah, so this chain has seen better days. It's getting down there. You can see the two. They're, most of them are half, a little more than half. So this is probably going to be one of the last times I sharpen this, if not the last time. We'll see how these clean up. I mean, I didn't hit anything with it, so they should clean up pretty good. But still going to get them sharpened up. They're in definitely need of a sharpening. So we're going to sharpen these up. So if you've been watching my videos for any length of time, you've seen me sharpen saws multiple different ways. I've done different ways of filing them with different file guides. I've got the bench grinder back here, and I've ground the chains. I still do that from time to time. Usually if I damage a chain, if I hit metal with it or something where I've really brutalized a bunch of the teeth, then I'll put it on the grinder. Assuming it's got enough life left in it, and grind everything back to a new starting point. So I've hand filed them. The other way I've done it before with power tools is with this, the Ease Do chainsaw sharpener. It's basically it's a cheap version of a Dremel tool. It's marketed primarily for doing chainsaws. It's got the big butterfly looking guide here, and that works pretty well. Not I wouldn't say the greatest tool of all time, but it does work for a low cost. It was very good. But recently, as in for Christmas, somebody got me an actual Dremel, and got me the good one here. That's the Dremel 4300. It is a plug-in one, same as these do. It's not the battery powered. Usually I don't really need the battery powered out in the field. That's where that would excel. If I'm out in the woods cutting or out in the wood yard just cutting and I need to touch up a chain, I'll just file it. But usually what I like to do is put a good, my filing technique is okay, but I'm not the greatest at it. I'm not bucking. I'm not one of them guys that can file, and I can do it. Takes a while, and I find that using the Dremel tool, some might know it as a die grinder. That's what these are based on. It works a lot faster, and you don't have to, when you're sharpening, especially when you're filing, you've got your teeth have more than one direction. So you got teeth that you need to approach when you file from the left and from the right. Where using one of these, you really can just go right along. You can just change directions. And that's what I'm going to show you here. If you've never seen this before, how you do these with a Dremel or any of these kind of tools, this will be a good one for you. Just kind of otherwise just showing off that the new Dremel tool. So one of the other neat things with this Dremel has their chainsaw sharpening kit, and instead of the big wide butterfly guide, it just has this one off to the side. And I'm actually finding that I've done this already a couple of times, and I'm finding that I like this a little better. The other guide can kind of get in the way. Really all I want this for is to keep it so that, keeps the stone even, against the raker, and that's all this has got to do, and that's what it does. And it does have markings here for 30 degrees. It doesn't have all the different markings for like 25 and 20. Honestly, most of my chains, I set them all to 30 degrees anyway, unless it's on rare circumstance, I might not, but I'm 30 degrees works really well, and so that's what I stick with. So anyway, I'm gonna get got the steel up here on the bench, and we got the chain set up. So what's nice on steel chain, Husky's got a marking too, but if you can see down here, this tie is yellow. It gives you a starting point for sharpening. That's really good to have. Husqvarna chain has a gold link in it. I haven't seen any Oregon chains that have any kind of marking or starter link. So those ones, what you can do is, if you don't have that, you can take and mark a tooth. You can use a Sharpie. I've got a red one too, but I can't seem to locate it at this present time. But you can take the marker, and you can either you can just put a mark on the tooth there, give you one to start with. I've done that plenty of times. That works. Just like I said, somewhere that way you're not grinding the same one over and over again and wondering, why am I never sharpened and why are my teeth gone? Well, that's, you don't know where you started, you don't know where it's time to finish. So anyway, I'm gonna get the camera set up here and get you on the tripod, and we can start sharpening. Okay, so we got the Dremel plugged in. I've got it set on 35 on this is its highest speed. On these I think it was like 5 or 6. So anyway, we're just gonna get everything set up and we're gonna sharpen. And just like that, we're done. We see it catching my glove. Usually a good sign they're sharp. So anytime you sharpen a saw, you should take care of the rakers too, and I'm going to show you. So if you're not familiar with them, okay, so a chain, the cutter on a chain has two parts. It has the tooth, and then it has the raker, depth gauge. Some people call it a follower, but it leads it, so I don't know how you call it a follower. But anyway, some people do. Everybody's got their own terminology, bless them. But you need to make sure that that's set at a correct depth so that the chain actually cuts and actually gets a bite out of the wood. So this has to be just slightly lower than the tooth. So, but it's not, you don't want it so low that allows the tooth to take too much of a bite. You can end up breaking them off or grabs. If you ever heard somebody say you got a grabby chain, that's what it is. You want to grab, I prefer it to grab a little bit. So I keep my depth gauges down a little lower than some people do. They're a little lower than when they come out of the box. But I like when you cut into the wood, that it actually pulls just slightly on the saw. I want it to pull, not, I shouldn't have to force it. You don't want to have to sit there and just reef down on the saw to make it cut. So there's a couple of different tools you can use to set depth gauges. A lot of people familiar with these long bar ones. These I don't really care for. One, they don't cut it down enough. They only cut to two. They set everything at 0.025. I like it at 0.03. Doesn't sound like much, but it does make a difference. But the way these are designed is you lay them across two teeth, and it kind of gets the average there, which that works okay. It's not going to get you really every depth gauge where it should be, unless if you grind the chain, if you grind it on a bench grinder, and every one of these teeth is the same height or same length, it'll be accurate enough. The problem is if you hand file, if you use a die grinder, and you're doing each tooth individually, based on, when you do that, you're doing it based on what kind of condition that tooth is in, and you keep going until the tooth is sharp. You end up with teeth that are different lengths. And some people say, well, if they're not all the same, you'll cut crooked. Not necessarily. Where you end up with cutting crooked isn't from the tooth itself, it's from the depth gauges. The depth gauges have to be consistent with the tooth they're attached to. If you have ones that aren't, if you have depth gauges on one side that are set higher than on the other side, one side's tooth's going to take a bigger bite out of wood when it's in the log versus the other side, and that's what's actually going to make you start cutting crooked. So it's not the brand of the saw, it's not that all your teeth aren't the same length, it's 99 out of 100 times it's going to be your depth gauges. The other thing that having your depth gauges not right, even if they're even but they're not deep enough or they're not set low enough, is you're putting more effort, more force on the saw. And when you force down on the saw, you're going to make the chain flex, you could even make the bar flex, and you're forcing the chain and the bar through the wood instead of letting it just cut down nice and evenly. And that too can make you cut crooked or cut just completely wonky. Plus it's putting a lot of strain on your saw. This is tied directly to the crankshaft of your engine. You're going to put stress on the saw and eventually wear the saw out that much quicker. So depth gauges are really important. Now, like I said, these tools, they're okay. I don't prefer them. Ones that I prefer are like these ones, like this. And I have the card type too, that's standalone. This is my Husky file guide, has one attached, but this is what's called a progressive depth gauge. And progressive depth gauges usually have two different settings, one for hardwood, one for softwood. And what that does is for softwood, it'll actually drop the rakers down, the depth gauges down even further. So works fine. Softwood, that's easy to cut through, it'll work just fine. Hardwoods, it's going to make it grabby. And you definitely, my opinion, my experience, and what I hear from others, you don't want the softwood setting generally on if you're going to use this for felling. You don't want the bar to be too grabby, the chain to be too grabby when you're felling. Just it can get you in a bad situation. So most of what I cut is hardwood. It's oak, ash, maple, those kind of things. So I keep it with the hardwood setting, which is about I want to say it's 0.03, where the softwood I think is 0.04. So I usually stick with the hardwood setting. It cuts pine just fine. And, you know, I guess, like I said, if all you were ever going to be is in a bunch of pine, spruce, fir, then by all means use the softwood. I would recommend sticking with the hardwood. But the way this gauge works is instead of laying across two teeth, you're actually just paying attention to one, and you just get what you want is that this little notch here to sit on, doesn't have to sit on the next tooth, it sits on the tie strap, and you just bring it down to where it's on top of that depth gauge, and then the back side is resting against the tooth, and then if that's sticking up, this one really isn't, this one's still pretty good, but you can take your file and you just run the file along here. And that'll take it even to that, you know, and it works both sides. Same as with our grinder there. So just lay it on there, and it's set. Like I said, these seem to be set pretty good. Yeah, see, these are still below, and even with my gloves on, I can tell. And actually, when I was cutting, this was chain was grabbing just fine. I think we're good. You don't want to just run. You can just run them along and do all of them with the file and just see if any of them grab. If they don't, the only thing is you will eventually. Now this gauge has a harder metal than your sawtooth is, but even that, most good files will eventually start wearing into this when you run it across enough. So you really don't need to. You don't really want to do it any more than you have to. I know plenty of people have good luck with too, is if they're all pretty consistent. You know, some people just make a habit of when they sharpen, they just take one stroke across the tooth. That works fine too. Works fine for plenty of people. Me, I like to be a little more precise than that is all. So I think we're good here. This chain's sharp. So I'm going to take the steel off, and we're going to switch to the Husky, get that one sharpened up, and then we're going to call it a day. Okay, so we got the Husky 592 up here in the vise, and I'm just going to show you. So there's Husqvarna's link, starter link. It's gold. Gives you a good starting point, as I said. And then now this chain is newer. Picked this one up at the Paul Bunyan, and this one has not been through the torture yet that has befallen the other. But you can see where there's still a lot of life left in this chain. So, but it's just been used. It's not damaged. Just needs touching up. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so, all right, so we got these sharpened. Some of these were a little rougher than others. I'll take you off here and show you. So, there we go. So we got a nice C on that tooth. And on that one, the other thing you can see is, even though we took a bunch, we got back to where it was shiny. Back to good chrome, as they say. But yeah, so definitely picks at the glove now more. So, all right, so now we're gonna check. We're gonna do a check on the depth gauges on this one, and I'm guessing that since I went a little bit further, it was a little aggressive with my sharpening, this one might need it, but might not. Nope. See how that just, you heard it there, it just grabbed it. So, see, that's all you do until it doesn't take much. Same as with the Dremel, you're not putting a ton of pressure on this, you just want to run it along there, let the file do the work. If anything, we're just taking a slight burr off of it. That one's fine. Yeah, see, that one needs a little bit more. And see, there's why that's why I like to use the gauge instead of just taking a stroke off, because each one's different. And I like to, especially when you're cutting firewood to sell, you want to get the ends as straight as possible. Crooked cuts cause more time to process because you're fighting with it than it does to just take and file this the right way. One of the ways too you can tell your rakers might need some attention. So I don't know if you can see in here, the after you file them, they're shiny, kind of like the top of the teeth. If they're if you're done cutting and they're still shiny, then they're probably low enough. If they're dull, that means they've been contacting the wood pretty hard, and they likely could use a touch. Again, you can either use one of these gauges, you know, or if you prefer to just take a stroke or two off, be my guest. Entirely up to you. Okay. That's it. Nice and sharp. Nice and sharp. Depth gauges are set. So this time around, I didn't switch sides, you know, do all one side of the depth gauges and then another. You know, it makes a little bit more noise doing the ones on this side from this direction. But if you hold as long as you're holding the gauge tool right and your file, you're not just jamming into it, pushing it. There's no problem grinding or filing those from that direction. That I've found it works. Haven't had any issues. So, but you know, that's something that really, you know, really means something to you. Then by all means, please, you know, do what works for you. I just showing you what I do. So, all right, you got sharp saw. We're good to go. I did a video a while back about changing over to DGP, the biodegradable oil, and I liked it, liked the results. Just wanted to show you one of the things that's nice about it, right? It cuts beautifully, flows. I've been using it in the super cold weather we had back last month. No issues. It's just been phenomenal. Forms just fine. But one of the things that seems to be nice is, again, and others have mentioned this, I think Buckins mentioned it, you know, but you don't get that super sticky crud. You know, you build up sawdust, but it wipes right off. It's not, just wipes off like that, and it's gone. Saw cleans up really nice. You know, you don't have a ton of oily, sticky mess, which is great. Makes it easier to clean up. So just thought I'd touch on that a little bit. If you've never heard of DGP, I'm gonna go get the bottle here and show you. So here's a bottle. DGP stands for Diversified Green Products. It's a bio-based bar and chain oil. They have some other lubricants as well. But I've met the folks from them. They're a great company. American made. You know, this good stuff. It's going to be it's not going to be the the $9-10 bar and chain oil that you might get at the farm store, or it's a little bit, it's on par with, I would say, Husqvarna and Steel's synthetic, their high-end oils. It's right around that price range. When I bought this, and I'll say it, when you order direct from them, a lot of times you got to buy it. I think you got to buy it a case at a time, which is 4 gallons. But it works out to right around, with shipping, I want to say right around $26 a gallon. Might be more now. I haven't bought it in a little while. But look up their website, DGP Bar and Chain Oil. I think their website is changeyouroil.com, something to that effect. But you can get it from them. Also, you can find this. This is actually how I found out about them is if you go to your big box store, even the farm stores do sell it. If you buy the DeWalt bar and chain oil, biodegradable bar and chain oil, that is the same stuff. You're gonna pay a little bit more. I want to say that stuff was running like $10 a quart versus, you know, and I think it was like 30 something a gallon. You know, you gotta pay a little bit for the DeWalt name, but it's the same stuff. But yeah, give this a shot. You know, if you don't like it, that's great. You know, give them a shot. I like it. I know some other people, some well-known people are using it too. You know, they've made that switch. So, but do what works best for you. All right, guys. So that's gonna do it for me today. Got all the sharpening done, so I'm gonna get everything put away. We're ready to go for next time when the weather hopefully improves. I hope you like what you saw. If you did, please feel free to like and subscribe, and feel free to share it. So I hope too you'll check out some of my other videos. I think there's I think we're over 200 now. Or at least we're getting close to that. I want to thank everybody who's subscribed. Thank everybody who watches on a regular basis, even if it's your first time watching. Hope you'll watch more. Go back, check out some of those other videos, and hope you'll enjoy them. So until next time, everyone, from all of us here at the beautiful Beavertown compound, take care of each other, be good, stay safe, and I'm out.